Do you guys have any idea where Aaron Rodgers is going to go this year?
He's going to stay in Green Bay. I'll eat my hat if I have to. Y'all let this go on with Brett Favre, and now you're letting it go on with Aaron Rodgers. If you really want to just get rid of Aaron Rodgers, then get rid of Aaron Rodgers. It's also part of Aaron, but it's also on your side too, Green Bay. So if you really, really want to move from Aaron Rodgers and see what you have with Jordan Love, then just go ahead and get it over with. Stop letting these narratives go on and saying he's going to his retreat, he's going to figure everything out, and he's going to come out with a clear mind. Just get it done. It's not that hard. So for me, he's staying in Green Bay.
It's me. Hi. I'm the Houston player hater, or Jackson Cochran. Last year on this podcast called The Circus Catch, I made one of the worst takes in history that ended me up on Bad Take Boulevard. I said that Aaron Rodgers was going to honor his contract and going to stick with the Green Bay Packers. As we know, in the offseason, he went to the New York Jets. I even went on top of that saying that if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, I would eat my own hat. Now, I'm a man of my word. I've been trying to come up with the best way for me to eat my hat for the longest time. I have a plethora of hats. And for this one, I had to find the tastiest, most delicious hat that I could possibly eat because we know that it's going to be a problem. But as so you have it, I am a man of my word, and I'm going to eat my hat. As you can see, yes, my hat. I find loopholes in things. And me, I'm a man of my word, and I'm going to follow through with this one. So I'm going to eat my hat. And it's delicious.
Welcome to the Circus Catch. Ow! Rewind it back, give it a listen, tell me I'm wrong. I'm becoming a social media guru. I'm always up for the challenge.
Are you kidding me?
This is something that you've never seen in the history of golf.
Guess who called that one? What more can you say?
I am dubbed the Houston player hater. I don't have time to believe. I want that golden sombrero and have the heart of the champion, as some would say.
You got butthurt.
What is he thinking?
Do you remember the bubble?
Didn't really look too fancy in my eyes.
You have a couple W's in my belt.
Is he the greatest of all time?
It is like magic.
Bravo, Jackson. Bravo. You found a way to eat your hat.
I did. Nice slow clap. I really, truly appreciate that. Sarcasm.
Yeah, sarcasm. You're all about sarcasm. You're all about finding ways to not do things that you say you're going to do.
I found a loophole in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Just like anybody, I find loopholes.
Jackson helping me kick things off here. We're going to have Jesse and Austin a little bit later, and Taylor is going to make an appearance. Y'all remember Taylor from last season. Thank you for coming onto the program today, and we're going to kick things off by talking about a man that you know just a little bit about, Aaron Rodgers.
I know nothing about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, clearly not. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers to get things started. So
Fair
some
enough.
big news that happened about this time last week. It was made known to the world that Aaron Rodgers is cleared to practice just 3 months removed from snapping his Achilles. He has a 21-day practice window, Jackson. I get why he wants to come back. That's who Aaron Rodgers is. That's how he operates. He wants to prove the world wrong. That's kind of always been his MO. But do we really think that he's going to be able to make a difference this season?
In my opinion, no proclamations. Aaron Rodgers should not play because there's nothing else to play for this season. The Jets are 4-8 right now. If by anything, because you can't say never in the NFL, but if there is a slim chance that the Jets actually earn a wild card spot, then you know that Aaron Rodgers is going to want to be out there. But with their strength of schedule moving forward, you have the hot hand, and I'm not just being a Texans homer right now. You have the Houston Texans going over to MetLife this weekend, and they're 7-5. And with the way that the Trevor Lawrence injury just happened on Monday Night Football, the Texans are hungry to make the postseason, even win the AFC South, and they haven't been in the playoffs since 2019. So can't say never, but I think that for the sake of Aaron Rodgers' career, don't come back this soon. You can be at the facilities, you can be practicing, doing all what you need to do to get more face time with the receivers, with the offensive coordinators, well, the coordinator, the quarterback room, everybody, but do not risk injuring yourself coming back too soon.
Mere days ago, Aaron Rodgers turned 40 years old, so happy belated birthday to Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that you're being a homer at all on that. I think that's a great point. The Houston Texans just stopped a very hot Denver Broncos team. There is that logjam in the AFC and the wild card. At this point, the Jets have no shot at the division. It's pretty much the Dolphins' division to lose. I could see Buffalo maybe coming back to win it, but at best, I think the Jets might get a 7 or 6 seed if Aaron Rodgers comes back. And he's already a week into that 21-day scheduled program, so he's got about 2 weeks to clear, or else he has to return to the IR, and then his season is officially over. I do love that about Rodgers, though, being the competitor that he is, wanting to come back. And we look at it from the outside, and of course, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But if we were in that same situation, I think that we'd want to go as well. I think what Aaron Rodgers needs, though, is somebody to tell him what is smart. And in my opinion, that is not to come back this year so quickly after rupturing your Achilles. Moving on from football to baseball, Jackson, we had a 5-month period off, and that did take the rest of the baseball season off for us. So we need to do a little bit of a recap. The biggest story coming into the season was the rule changes. The bases being bigger was one of them. I think the biggest one, though, being the pitch clock. The average game length is at its lowest since 1985, 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 49 seconds, which is vastly improved over at least my lifetime. I haven't been around since 1985. These games that I would go to, 9-inning games, clearly over 3 hours every time, 3 hours, 15 minutes, 3 hours, 30 minutes. Got to be a bit long. I think it was a success. Do you think that it was a success?
Sports nowadays are so fast paced, and the younger crowds, they want something that's quick, because you just see how back and forth it is with the NBA and just how high scoring college and high school NFL football can be. NHL, it's fast paced. You needed to do something to bring more ice to baseball, and these new rule changes, you saw a lot more movement back in the game, something you haven't seen in a while. Bases being stolen. I mean, when was the last time you had someone steal for over 30, 40 bags a year? It's been a hot minute. I know that Mike Trout had one season where he stole for 30 bases, but we don't really talk about stolen bases back in the day whenever Ricky Henderson was just tearing it up. And that's something that you haven't seen in a long time. And it's something fun because, Taco Bell, every time in the postseason, whenever it's the World Series, steal a base, steal a taco. They were given that promotion because you weren't getting stolen bases. And now you have stolen bases back in baseball, which is awesome. And banning the shift, you got to see a lot more hits, because you would just see that whenever the shift would happen, you knew that, okay, here comes, and I'm just going to say a random baseball player, Yordan Alvarez. Let's just go ahead and just overstack that side of the field because of his power. Not to mention, like, oh yeah, Yordan can actually hit the other way. And whenever that would happen, the thing that bothered me so much, why won't you bunt? That's an old head in me, is why don't you bunt? Concentrate more on bunting. If you have the shift going on, just get a bunt dragged down the third baseline. If you have the speed, you can make it. But yes, I do think the rule changes have been a success, and it's good for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, underutilized was the bunt during the era of the shift. The era of the shift is now gone. Yordan Alvarez doesn't seem like a totally random player to me, Jackson, but I'll let you slide with that one. Yeah, scoring was up because of the ban on the shift. 8.6 runs per game was the average between both teams in 2022. 2023, it went from 8.6 up to 9.2. But yeah, nobody will ever reach what this man has done. It doesn't matter if the bases are bigger. No, I just happen to have that random book there. Speaking of random players, let's go ahead and get into some news about Shohei Ohtani. And that is the lack of news, because he is being very secretive about his free agency process. Knowing our luck, his decision is going to be made after we record this, but before we upload this. So it's going to be the big news everyone's talking about, and we don't even get to it on episode 1. But a decision is expected to be made as early as this week. It looks like, from what I'm seeing, and from the reporters I've been following, there are essentially 4 teams in the running. It looks like the Cubs are out. It looks like the Angels, Blue Jays, Dodgers, and potentially the Giants are the 4 suitors that I'm seeing. Jackson, I'll give you a chance to go ahead and get yourself off of Bad Take Boulevard. Do you want to make a solid claim on who is going to take Shohei Ohtani?
No, I do not. Because here's the thing.
You won't have to eat your hat.
I'm not going to eat my hat or anything like that. I'm not going to say anything about Shohei because they're keeping it so close to the chest.
Right.
Because as we are recording this, they do not want anybody coming out saying about their meetings. And Dave Roberts of the Dodgers decides to, we met with Shohei just a little bit ago for 2 to 3 hours. His representation doesn't want you to come out saying that you had a meeting with him. What are you doing? Shohei is going to make his decision, what's best for his career. And you know that he's going to be at least a $500 million player. Now he's 29 years old. I don't know whenever he's going to be able to pitch again because he didn't have Tommy John. It was an elbow surgery that he had. It wasn't officially Tommy John, but if anything, you might not get him to pitch until another year or 2. But you're still going to have a bat where he's going to hit over 300 and get at least 40 bombs a season. I could see the Giants just because the Giants were in the market for Aaron Judge last year before he decided to stay with the Yankees. The Giants still have deep pockets and everyone's throwing money around and are ignoring the luxury tax. So it doesn't really matter. You saw what the Mets did. The Mets sold the farm after the trade deadline or before the trade deadline, whenever they knew that they were out of contention. And you saw what the Padres are doing. They're trying to get rid of Juan Soto now. The sweepstakes are high. It's just, are you willing to give him that high of a value for at least 7 to 10 years? Because once these players get closer to the 40-year mark, obviously the market's going to reset. But how bad is that going to hinder everything moving forward?
It's just extremely strange to watch something like this. The biggest superstar in at least a century in Major League Baseball, not wanting any kind of press with this. This could be huge for Major League Baseball. An agency that is trying to go up in resurgence, especially with all the rule changes that we just saw, not taking advantage of this. The Dodgers did seem to kind of break that unwritten rule that Ohtani's team had in place for him. My gut feeling, though, is that the Dodgers are the lead contenders to be able to get him. They've been making moves to be able to open the amount of money that they need to get him. For over a year now, they've been doing this. Giants, I don't really see. Angels, he's come out and said losing sucks, so I really don't think he wants to go back to the Angels. Blue Jays are interesting, but I think a dark horse team people need to pay attention to is the Atlanta Braves.
I do agree with that. The Braves, because they've been such a powerhouse in the National League, and they are really strategic with moving money around. I wish that I was worked in a front office to understand how they're able to make all these moves, because you just continue to think, okay, you got these guys signed for this long. How are you able to not go over the luxury tax, or if you really care about going over that luxury tax? Because they just won the World Series in 2021. So you're still making plenty of money off of that with merchandise, and just how I haven't been to Truist Park, but just hearing what it's like around the stadium with all just the, what is it called? Like the common ground or whatever that they have just set up around there. Just it's an event going to the ballpark over in Atlanta now, which is amazing.
Despite what's happened the last couple of years in the playoffs in the National League, despite the way that it's gone on with some of these underdog teams reaching the pinnacle, the class of the National League has been the Dodgers and the Braves for the last few years. If they can get the 1 and 2 seed like they have been doing, and if they can actually not get upset in these first couple rounds like they have been, the Atlanta Braves are going to want to take as much away from the Dodgers as possible. So that's why I think the Braves are a good underdog team to watch, but I still think the Dodgers are going to get them. I think Dodgers, number 1. I think Blue Jays, number 2. And I think dark horse, we're looking at Atlanta Braves, number 3. I'm not sold on the Angels or the Giants. Folks, just because we took 5 months off does not mean we have not been busy. Jackson, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks what league you became a commissioner of during this 5-month break?
I became the commissioner for the Circus Catch League. For a lot of frequent guest spots and co-hosts that have got to join us on the Circus Catch, we all decided to join the Circus Catch Fantasy Football League. There's only 8 of us this year. Hopefully we can crank it up to next year, maybe make some rule changes and what say you, but yes, that's where we are right now with 8 people. And as your commissioner, it's not looking very good for your commissioner, to say the least.
I mean, the commissioner's team is not the one that I'm super worried about because I also have a team in this league. So the league is obviously the main 4 of us. It's me, you, Austin, and Jesse, as well as, like you said, people who have been on the show before. So Richard's in the league, Taylor's in the league, E is in the league, and then my brother hasn't been on the show, but he's been in skits and guest spots, and he's done camera work. So he's been a big part of the show too. So he's in the league. So yeah, just 8 of us. I think it makes it a little bit more competitive. So as you can see right here, Taylor's in the playoffs. Austin's in the playoffs. Who's that at the number 3 seed? Oh, look, it's me. I'm in the playoffs. Jackson, are you in the playoffs?
No.
You are not in the playoffs, but you are also not eliminated. There's only one more week to go in this season before the postseason. And everybody else is still alive. So right now, Jesse's kind of in the driver's seat. If he wins, he's in. The problem is he's playing me next week, and I'm not going to take it easy on him. And then right behind him, you got Josh, you got Jackson, you got E, and you got Richard. All 5-8, all can still make the playoffs. Right now, Jesse's odds are 54%. Josh is 25%. You have a 14% chance of making the playoffs. E has a 4% chance, and Richard has a 3% chance. Jackson, you coming on next week?
I think so.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you next week then.
All right.
All right, man. Take it easy. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
My next guest only needs an introduction if you did not catch the last episode of last season. If you did, you would have seen him. He was on at the very last episode. He's back for the first episode of this season. He studied sports journalism at USC, and he knows how to pick a football team. Ladies and gentlemen, Taylor Biggs joining us on the limited time that he does have on his break. Taylor, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? How was the game?
Good to have you back, dude. That game was amazing. Really cool to go to that one. Really cool to take my son to that game.
That's awesome.
Now, just as a quick side, real quick, you are a Rams season ticket holder. Have you only been to one game this season?
I've only been to one game this season, yes. Yeah.
You got another one in you? There's only 2 left, and I think Raina's got the ticket for one of them.
So what I'm hoping is, actually, I think I sold the other one, so I might convince my wife to go with me to the last one, but we're still, with kid, wife, the new job, and everything, so we're just still holding down the fort. But I live vicariously through you, her, and all my other Rams fans that I sell my tickets to. So
let's talk some basketball. You are my NBA guy. I feel like in some circles I'm the NBA guy, but then when it comes to you, I have essentially no knowledge. So I come to you on these things. Something that the NBA is doing that's a little bit different than previous seasons. They are hosting an in-season tournament. Would you care to explain what the heck that is?
Sure. So for people who aren't familiar, the in-season tournament is basically, the NBA has been talking about it for almost a decade, about sprucing things up because the 82-game regular season sometimes in their mind gets stale. So if you check overseas in like La Liga, soccer, they do this thing where it's basically like a tournament during the regular season to captivate the audience and the fans and everything, and everybody goes crazy over it. It's had huge success over there. So this is the NBA's version of, or spinoff of that. So what they did is basically they put these teams in 8 little groups, and they each play each other one time. And then the team with the best record of that group will advance. And then one wild card per conference will also advance. So four teams from each conference, 8 in total in the knockout round. And the big reason why players and actually coaches are buying in too, coaching staff, is because obviously money. So these guys, to get these guys to commit and buy into this, other than just, hey, every game counts for the regular season except for the championship game. But to get them to buy in, they offered a cash prize. So the knockout, the final 4 will go to Vegas, and they actually, the winners get 500,000 each per player and the coaching staff. So it's pretty big for, that purpose as well. So they're getting everyone to buy in. It's been pretty successful so far, at least in my opinion.
And for a good chunk of these players, that's a huge percentage of their annual earnings.
Oh yeah. So you have, the LeBrons and the Currys and everybody who's already making those max contracts, but you forget about the player 11 through 15 on the end of the bench that are, sometimes shuffling from G League down to, the actual NBA team as well. That's a huge amount of money for them. So it's very good for them. And as I said before, it's also good for the coaching staff because they're incentivized too.
At the time that we're doing this, we have not seen the results of those first games. So as of this moment right now, all 8 teams are still in it. Go ahead and brag on your Sacramento Kings a little bit. They are in this tournament. What has impressed you about them so far?
Oh man, I was gonna try and not go homer on this. So you kind of like took me into that. So the Kings, everyone thought, surprise team last year and everything. So we do have kind of that target on our back to see if this is actually, we can go from that good to great team. So we had the toughest group because we had your San Antonio Spurs.
Oh yeah, the Spurs made it tough. Yeah.
Oklahoma, that doesn't sound great to start off, but Oklahoma City Thunder, who are top 3 in the conference right now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are the number 1 seed in the Western Conference right now, and of course the Golden State Warriors in there as well. So that was the toughest conference, and we went 4-0.
Is the Sacramento Kings Golden State Warriors game the game of the year so far? The game that allowed the Kings to take over the group?
That game had me have 3 heart attacks, 2 aneurysms, and yeah.
Hey, I watched that game. I don't blame you.
I have gray hairs from that game. So, but
nice.
Finally beat Big Brother. That was about to be a mental block if we lost that one to them. So,
Taylor, you had mentioned the success of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves in that group. They are currently, as of today, right now, the number 1 and number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Neither of those teams are in the tournament. Do you think that could be a deterrent for maybe some more casual fans to not want to pay attention to the tournament?
Yes and no. So the reason why I can kind of see that is because, they are number 1 and number 2, like you said. So, but they're not actually those big market teams. Like another one that's in is the Lakers or the Celtics, or not big market by any means. It's a small market, but the Milwaukee Bucks, well-known team that are also in there. And then you have the biggest market of them all, the Knicks, are in there. So they have other big market teams that are buoyed in there that'll help, even the most casual fan narratives. Like, LeBron is what, 39, I think, right now, or turning 39. So could this possibly be one of his last hurrahs for a meaningful game? Even though it doesn't mean anything, it's an NBA Cup, that's their first one. But this is the closest thing you're going to get to the playoffs without being in the playoffs. So I can get the kind of casual fan from dropping off on that, but also it's going to take the casual fans aren't really noticing that Minnesota and OKC are 1 and 2.
Last thing before I let you go real quick. We were talking a little bit the other day, and you've been texting me pretty consistently about a dark horse contender for MVP. And when I say dark horse, there's a lot of people that have been texting me dark horse contenders for MVP. I have a buddy that's a OKC fan. He's going to be on the show eventually. He's telling me why SGA should be MVP. He's been on the outside looking in, a little bit lower than the top 5 right now. I've got a Timberwolves fan friend who is vying for the case for Anthony Edwards to be MVP. Again, just outside the top 5. Your guy De'Aaron Fox is outside the top 10 from what I'm seeing on most sites. Why do you think that he can rise to the occasion and leapfrog all of these guys to win MVP this year?
So first and foremost, you introduced me as going to USC for journalism, and then you cater to my homerism for my teams, which is the pillar of journalism is to not be a homer. And so you've not only done it once, but now you've done it twice. So I just want the audience or whoever's watching to know that he baited me into this. This is not me saying I'm a Sacramento Kings fan. Anyway.
See, here's the thing though. You know that it's different working on a show, working as a beat writer than a podcast. I'm not going to be wearing this if I'm working for a team in the Bay Area or something like that. Unless I want to make them mad.
That too. So De'Aaron Fox, dark horse for MVP. Why? For your other friends who are going to probably get up and make their cases, SGA and Anthony Edwards, those are great cases as well. My case for De'Aaron Fox is point blank. The most valuable player is what he means to that team. If you saw him, he was out for 5 games with an ankle injury, and he's still injured. He's openly said to the media, I'm not 100%. He said, I'm here for my team. And he said, I won't be 100% for months. But he's out there. He's averaging over 30 points a game. He leads the league in fourth quarter scoring again, which he did last year. He's already got a target on his back for that. They know he starts cooking in the fourth quarter, and he's still doing it. They can't stop him. He's shooting a career high percentage, 37% from 3-point this year, which is obviously league average, but it's respectable for him because that was the biggest knock on him coming out of college was he could not shoot. He's shooting it at 8.5 attempts per game from 3, which is a career high as well. So he's not doing it on 1 or 2 shots a game, and that's his limit. No, he's shooting the 3. He's punishing people for going under screens because they can't keep up with him. He's still the fastest player in the NBA. The second thing that I have is defense. He's going out there, and him and Keegan Murray are guarding the best opposing offensive players night in and night out. He's doing that, and the starting point guard, and fourth quarter scoring, and we look like boo-boo without him. Absolute terrible. We got blown out twice by the Houston Rockets, which are a vastly improved team, but in my opinion, we shouldn't be getting blown out. It was only because he was gone. And that, in my opinion, he'll get more love as the national media picks up on it and everything, especially if like I said, I believe we'll win. So if we win, we'll get even more mainstream attention. But I'm just saying, dark horse of dark horses, you're going to be hearing about it in a couple months. De'Aaron Fox is going to be an MVP candidate. And Mike Brown's been openly campaigning for it as well. That's his coach, but it's something if a coach like that is openly saying it's not if he's an MVP candidate, he is.
Taylor, thank you so much for giving us your take on this NBA in-season tournament.
Yeah, no problem. Be happy to come back whenever you want me. And I want you to play the MVP one too if he wins MVP. That one you have to play that quick.
That'll be at the end of the...
Don't delete that part.
All right, I'll hang on to that one. All right, man, take it easy.
All right, you too. Later, bro.
Later. All right, folks, we've got some familiar faces back to wrap us out at the end of the show. Jesse, Austin, welcome to the podcast.
What's going on, Jordan?
Let's get right into it, guys. This was a wild weekend for NCAA football. Let's talk championships. Let's talk Washington, Oregon. What did you guys like about this game?
Ooh, Pac-12 championship, Friday night action. It was a great game. I'm so glad Washington won, personally.
Why is that?
So they got it done in the regular season, right? And then everything coming up to the start of this game, the spread, the fan opinion, the pundits, everybody said Oregon was going to win. And Washington never backed down. They never quit. And they came out and won twice in the same season. And we always talk about how hard it is to beat a team twice in football. Well, Washington got it done. And now look at where they're at. They're going to be playing for a national championship.
I'm actually excited that Oregon won too, because people were talking about Washington winning too, because people were talking about, if Oregon wins, will they be in the football playoff? I don't think they will. And with the Pac-12 being nothing after this year, it's so great for the Pac-12 to go out on top. I'm a big fan of Michael Penix Jr. When's the last time, besides maybe Tua, that we've seen such a dominant left-handed quarterback in college football? He is so fun to watch. His decision-making from last year to this year has improved tremendously. And I'm just so excited. I have a lot of family in Washington. They're really excited for UW and the Huskies. And I'm excited to what they see, for them to show what they can do on the grand stage. And like you said, Jesse, possibly play for a national championship.
Absolutely.
Two Heisman Trophy candidates in this game. Washington, of course, defeating Oregon 34-31 in what is to be the last Pac-12 championship.
It's kind of sad, to be honest. You guys know me, I'm a big geography nerd. So seeing schools like, USC and UCLA going to play schools on the freaking East Coast, it's kind of disheartening, to be honest. But it's kind of a thing like us seeing the super conferences really come to be, which is kind of what we feared when this college football playoff and the realignment structure changed and all that. So now we're looking at the Big Ten and the ACC and the SEC really becoming what they destined to be back when we started this in 2011, when the realignment really took off.
It's really, yeah, you said it right. I mean, it's sad. I know Jordan and I both grew up on the West Coast, watching and supporting Pac-12 football teams, basketball teams, every sport in the Pac-12, because it's in our surrounding areas, right? So like I grew up, a big UCLA guy, and going down to LA and watching the Bruins play and that USC UCLA rivalry, and just all those different rivalries inside of the Pac-12 are now gone. And I think the biggest thing is for the athletes, they're going to be traveling so much, not on the West Coast, different time zones. Like, how is that going to affect their school schedules and class schedules and things like that? And it's definitely a sad day, but it's going to be very interesting too, because now you've got maybe some of these big time FCS schools like the Dakotas, like the Montana States, that could possibly make a jump. Arguably, those four schools right there, Montana State, South Dakota, North Dakota State, they've had better seasons over the last 10 years than a lot of the bottom half of the FBS schools. So why not just have them maybe make a jump, and all of a sudden you got some small school representation, and this whole entire thing just flips upside down. But it's definitely a sad time to be a Pac-12 member, obviously.
Jesse, the Big 12 championship. I'll give you as much time as you want to vent your frustrations about this, or if you don't want to talk about this, we can move right along. But Texas, just because they are in the playoffs, 49-21, man.
So, we came in 15-point underdogs. So we knew it was going to be a David versus Goliath type matchup, and we never played Texas in the regular season. So our defense had no idea what they were getting into, on the field. Yeah, we beat the team that beat Texas, but until you actually get on the field and you're across the line from these guys, the offensive weapons that Texas had were so much faster and so much stronger than anybody on our defense, bar Nicholas Martin. Our one guy is not going to win you games. And Texas came out and punched us in the mouth, and it was kind of over from there. I'm a little disappointed that Oklahoma got a better bowl than we did. But we're going to take it, and Texas deservedly so, and in my opinion, getting into the playoff. We will obviously discuss that more later, but just Texas was the class of the conference all season long. Realistically, I think they should have beat OU in the Red River Shootout. So, it's disappointing as an Oklahoma State fan to have what we had happen this year. 4 losses, and all 4 losses were bad losses, if you will. Even losing to 7th ranked Texas by almost 30, that's a bad loss.
Texas making the college football playoff, especially after beating Alabama and then handily winning the championship. I mean, Michigan and Washington were the locks, right? And then it was like kind of a little muddy. I thought Texas was almost a lock too, and then who got that 4th seed? So Texas deserves it. They've been playing great football, and Archie Manning still making so much money without even seeing the football field. Pretty crazy.
Those NIL deals, man.
Wild.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next game that I have on the slate. That is the ACC Championship, Florida State and Louisville. Florida State doing it without their star quarterback, Jordan Travis.
And their backup, Tate Rodemaker.
Mhm.
You were looking at a freshman quarterback making his first career start against one of the best defenses in the country. Yeah, they got, punched up pretty good. They only scored 16 points, but still, Florida State got it done. They went undefeated, and they still got punished.
Freshman quarterback, yeah, they scored 16, but most of those points were scored in the 4th quarter. It was like 3-3 with some 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. It was an ugly football game, a lot of defense. I mean, of course, everybody today doesn't want to see a defensive battle 3-3 in the 3rd quarter, but maybe you just needed a little bit of time to get used to the offense. You needed 3 quarters to get ready, and then boom, he gets the job done and wins the championship for them. And that's just, goes to the preparation that the coaches had the players in. Once their star quarterback went down and then they lose their backup the next week, you got to give that coaching staff so much credit, because those guys could literally just, lay down. We don't have our star quarterback. Our season's done. They did. Their defense went out and played phenomenal, and they got the job done. We won't talk about the football playoff yet, but we'll get there.
One more game that I did want to talk about real quick. Obviously, the SEC Championship being the big shocker of all this. I mean, maybe not to some people, but Georgia hadn't lost a game in about 2 years. And the last time they lost was to Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. And now they get handed a loss again. Nick Saban still owning the rivalry. What did you guys think about that one?
So it's a thing, Alabama, Georgia. That is the class of the SEC, and it has been for the better part of a decade now. Maybe not quite a whole decade, but it's just it's incredible what Georgia accomplished throughout the last 3 years. 29 straight wins. It's pretty impressive. 2 national championships in a row. But Alabama and Nick Saban knows how to win against the biggest and the toughest teams, and they came out and they showed that. They got incredibly lucky to survive Auburn in the Iron Bowl, but when it came to the big moment there in Atlanta, they came out and they led pretty much from start to finish in that game. And Georgia's not used to playing from behind. They struggled to put away Georgia Tech in that rivalry game 2 weeks ago, but then when they were never behind really. And when they got behind against Alabama, they could not recover, because every time they answered, Alabama had their own answer. So, kudos to Alabama knocking off the two-time defending national champs. It was too little too late for them in terms of the college football playoff.
Let's talk playoff reaction now. So we've got our top 4 teams. We've got Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. I think we're all on board. Michigan is the number 1 team in the country. Washington deservedly in there. Texas more than likely deservedly in there. Alabama, that's the big question mark, right? Alabama over Florida State. Georgia completely out of the playoff.
Dropping from number 1 to number 6 for Georgia is unfortunately kind of what I expected, having them lose, because now you've got Alabama at 8, Texas at 7. Both of those teams won, and then the one beat that number 1 team. So it's a drastic drop, from the ranking standpoint, but it's expected. I personally think you could have swapped Washington and Michigan. You really could have. They're both same caliber teams to me. Both teams struggled to put away a few teams down the stretch, so they're not that different. But Texas, those 3 teams I just don't understand how undefeated Power 5 team can be left out of the playoff. Unfortunately, I think the SEC bias really came to shine through, and That's what the committee went with. Yeah, all the pundits want to talk about the 4 most deserving teams. Well, how is an undefeated Power 5 champion not deserving?
It's not who's the most deserving, in my opinion. And first off, this is like, it's a committee that has people on there that are not even associated with football or have been at any level. And it's all subjective. Like, that's the problem. It's a flawed system. And everybody's going to be like, oh, well, 12 teams next year, there's your apology letter for this year, right? Well, no, it doesn't work like that. The biggest thing about this committee is what they talk about is, do we feel like these 4 teams that we put in here can each one win a national championship? They've got to think Michigan can do that 110%. Washington, impressive resume, Pac-12 champs, beat Oregon twice. Got to think that they can win a national championship. Texas, do you really have, there's a lot of arguments there where can they or can't they, but putting them against a Michigan team, I think they'd have a fair shot. Putting them against a Washington team, I think they've got a pretty fair shot. And then it's that 4th seed, right? So the committee looks at it, well, I don't agree, and they say, can Florida State win a national championship without their star quarterback? Here's the thing. It's not up to them. We don't know the answer to that question. We don't know that. They won their championship game without him. We don't know if they can win without their star quarterback. But in the committee's minds, they said, look, without Travis, they cannot win a national championship, nor will they stack up against these 4 teams. Is it right? Is it fair? Absolutely not. They went undefeated and they won their championship. That's what's supposed to get you in as a Power 5 school. It's ridiculous. It's terrible. It's not a good decision by the committee, but that's what they look at. Can they win the national championship? And basically it comes down to they didn't think that Florida State could win a national title.
So they put in 12-1 Alabama over a 13-0 Florida State team based on XYZ criteria.
Right.
But then when it came to the New Year's 6, they put in a 13-0 Liberty over a 11-2 SMU squad. Where's the logic? At least be consistent, right? You're going to put in Alabama over an undefeated into the playoff based on whatever criteria. But then you take an undefeated who is less deserving and put them into the New Year's 6 as the Group of 5 champion over a team that played a tougher schedule, far tougher schedule, and won a tougher conference's championship. I just don't see the consistent logic at all. I think in both cases, the committee got it wrong.
All right, guys. So from the young men of football to the somewhat young men of football, let's go to the NFL. This was a huge week for the NFL, the playoff picture shifting a little bit. Let's talk about that Thursday night game first. The Cowboys down the Seahawks in what has been one of the only thrilling Thursday night games of the year so far. Cowboys showing that maybe they're not done just yet. Seahawks started 5-2. They have lost 3 of their last 4. I thought the 49ers were going to win the division, but the Seahawks would make it interesting. But now the Seahawks are out of the playoff picture as of today.
Yeah, and no disrespect to the Rams, Jordan, but they look like a team that could challenge San Francisco right now. And the way Seattle's dropping, now you've got a tie for second in that division. I think Seattle's really they're really under pressure now, and it's starting to kind of crumble that squad. They could have put away Dallas. They could have put them away in the fourth quarter, the third quarter, and Dallas just, everybody likes to crap on Dallas, but that offense can hum, and they really came out, and they're looking like one of the better teams in the NFC, in my opinion.
I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in the NFL, but if he's not 1A, he's at least 1B. I'm hard-pressed to go against Tyreek Hill for best wide receiver in the league right now, but oh man, CeeDee Lamb has reached the pinnacle.
And shout out Dak Prescott, fantasy quarterback, man. He is just humming. MVP-like numbers from that quarterback. You're seeing his decision-making be a lot different than last year. He's not making more of the, for lack of better, of like dumb throws, like not smart throws. He's checking down when he has to check down. He's even sometimes using his feet if he's got to. What a matchup we'll have this weekend with Dallas and Philadelphia.
Let's move on to the most dominant performance of Sunday when the 49ers went to the East Coast and dominated the Philadelphia Eagles in a game that a lot of people expected to be a little bit closer, NFC Championship rematch, but Debo talked his talk and he backed it up, guys.
Yeah, they didn't just dominate. They thoroughly steamrolled Philadelphia. Debo said what he said. If Brock was in that NFC Championship, it's a different story. And turns out, obviously, the stakes are different, right? We're not talking about a spot in the Super Bowl. We're talking about a
regular
late
season game,
a regular season game, and San Francisco just rolled. I really thought Buffalo was going to get it done last week against Philly, and they didn't. They failed to put it away another team. But it showed the vulnerability, guys. There is vulnerabilities and weaknesses in that Philadelphia secondary. There really is. And San Francisco really exploited that.
Shout out Shanahan for that play calling too, because we saw for the first time, I think this year, Debo being used as that more utility guy than just a wide receiver, because obviously Brandon Ayuk has taken over as the number one wideout, and Debo's numbers are way down from 2 years ago when he had an MVP-like season. Obviously, he was a little hurt last year, but that was the first time that we saw him being used as what he is. He is like the best gadget player in the NFL. Impressive win inside of Philly, and just like Jesse said, it proved more about the flaws in the Philadelphia defense than I think about the San Francisco offense, because I think we kind of know that San Francisco's offense has been really good ever since they traded for that one guy. I think his name's like Christian McCaffrey or something like that. But yeah, ever since they traded for that guy.
Is that guy? Yeah, dude's having an MVP-like season. So there was no question in my mind that San Francisco's offense was going to come to play. We saw Philadelphia's defense had no answer. And all throughout the season, it's been Philly's defense. They're dominating. They're dominant. They gave up 30 points to Buffalo, and then they gave up 40 plus to San Francisco. So there's some work to be done for Nick Sirianni and that defensive unit.
Let's talk about the biggest stunner of the week, and that was the Sunday night game. The Packers stunning the Chiefs in Lambeau. Jordan Love seems to have earned his stripes. I think he's a legit starting quarterback in this league. What say you guys?
I think you're right, Jordan. I mean, the Packers have won 3 in a row, and they're 6-6 now. The offense is putting up numbers. I've got Jordan Love in fantasy, so I'm liking the numbers he's putting up. And I think Romeo Doubs is showing that he's a legit NFL receiver.
Jordan Love, man, was not a believer in the first 3-4 weeks of the regular season. I was like, oh, this is kind of looking like that guy who made his first start in Kansas City, in that wet and rainy game, looked awful. And they're like, oh my gosh, did we have the wrong draft pick? I'll tell you what, though. And for once, Chris Collinsworth was actually right when he said he saw a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in Jordan Love when he made that 4th down throw with a defender in his face, basically off his back foot, threw it up there for Dobbs, just made sure that he had enough time to go see the football and go get it. I mean, he's making some spectacular throws in very tight windows. I think he kind of understands the offense more now. He's more comfortable in the system. They're obviously calling plays that are for his skill level and what he provides for that football team. I'm impressed. Very impressed with Jordan Love. And what a statement win on Sunday night. Shout out one of my former coworkers, Ashley Washburn. She now works for a station out in Wisconsin, and she got to be there for that game. So it was just big time statement win for the Packers, and look out, here they come.
That's really cool. Yeah, and not to compare Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers just yet. Aaron Rodgers is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer when 5 years after he retires. Jordan Love, though, first full season starting, pretty similar to the numbers Rodgers was putting up. There is about a 30-yard discrepancy between the two, a 2-touchdown discrepancy between the two, which is not very much. The quarterback rating so far, Jordan Love is just I guess you would say 1 point behind Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, 91.2 for his first 12 starts, and Jordan Love 90.2. So we're looking really, really close on that front. But let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, guys. What happened?
I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet, Jordan.
No?
This is still a very good football team.
Well, they have a bunch of mediocre wide receivers. I think that's the biggest problem with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're still seeing big-time drops during the games in big-time moments. Whether it's a 3rd down and 6 in the first quarter or it's 3rd down and 4 in the fourth quarter, those are still big moments inside of a football game that can change momentum either way. We're still seeing those problems for the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defensive line isn't performing as well as they have been in the past, minus Jones, obviously. But Travis Kelce, is it the Taylor Swift thing? I'm not really sure. The dude's not putting up monster MVP-type first-round draft pick for fantasy-type numbers. He's just not doing it this year, and their offense hasn't been as explosive. I'm right there with you, though, Jesse. Not going to hit the panic button when you got one of the best quarterbacks, arguably already of all time, and the guy's name is Patrick Mahomes.
I've always thought Travis was kind of a little too fired up on the field sometimes, especially in his days at Cincinnati when he was younger. But that's obviously when he was younger. Yeah. But I've seen him, he's chirping a lot more with the defense. I think defenders are getting into his head a little more, and it's a mental thing for him. I don't know if it's, obviously what the saga that has occurred off the field with him. But there's something happening where he is not in the right mindset or something, because I've seen it several games. He is barking with the officials, barking at defenders in his face and stuff. So I know he was a fired up guy all the time, but it's really starting to show this season.
Who else is going to overtake Kansas City for the number 1 seed? At least they'll have home field for the first 2 rounds.
No, I'll say Baltimore. I think Jacksonville's kind of in the same boat where maybe they're struggling a little bit more than they did, and they got a young gun team behind them in the Houston Texans in that division that's kind of nipping at them. Baltimore, I think, is legit. And I think with Jacksonville, too, it really depends on the extent of this Lawrence injury. Thankfully, it doesn't look as bad as it may have when he first went down. It looks like he has an ankle sprain, so he's in question to go next week, but it doesn't look like a long-term or too serious of an injury. The good thing for them is the ETN has been trending up over the last few weeks, and he's been playing really, really well lately. So they're probably going to rely pretty heavily on him if Trevor Lawrence isn't ready to go. For the last 5 months, we did not have any episodes of the Circus Catch, and I'm glad that we're all back together. But we all had a lot going on in the last 5 months, including Austin Parr being nominated as a NSMA Awards finalist for Montana Sportscaster for SWX Bozeman. So, Austin, congrats for the nomination. Let's go ahead and brag on it a little bit. Tell us, what is the NSMA Awards?
Thanks, Jordan. Honestly, didn't know you were going to do that, so I really appreciate it. Wasn't prepared for that one, which is always great, getting surprised with things like that. It's the National Sports Media Association. It's something that our school teachers and instructors, people who've been in media, told us to join. It's a big-time organization that recognizes people from around the world, both in writing media and in TV media. It's basically it gives you a lot of exposure, right? To even be nominated on this list is very, very special to me. Considering the people on that list are voices of certain things, like I'm right next to the voice of the Montana State Bobcats, the voice of everything in Billings on the radio, and then somebody named Kyle Hansen on TV who works for our rival company, MTN Sports, who's been doing this for 10 years. And for me to get it in the first year of what I've been doing is just phenomenal. And I think it says a lot about the work I've been putting in over the last year since I've got here in the state of Montana. And also, I think the sideline hits, the one that I did with Champ the mascot, at Montana State, and then also the one I did in the trash can.
Yeah.
This goes to show that you never know who's watching. And so I don't get nearly half the opportunities that those guys do that are on that list. And for me to be on that, to even make the list, I'm truly honored. And if I were to somehow win, that would be crazy. The voting's actually taking place right now, but Sportscaster of the Year, Montana, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Jesse, in this 5 months that we've had off, you took it upon yourself to start one of the more fun things that we've done and something that's kept us in contact. So it doesn't feel like we've been apart for too long because we still see each other every week or every other week. Talk about what you've been doing with Sports Jeopardy and how that's been going.
I don't know, man. It was just we got done with season 1 of the show, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to stay in contact with you guys. I wanted to make it a fun little, try to do it weekly. Well, obviously, our schedules are all different, so it doesn't always happen that way. But yeah, I got on Microsoft Excel one day and started writing sports questions. And then I eventually turned it into this, Jeopardy style game, and gotten to where we are now. We're getting ready for next week is episode 9. And I've got episodes 10, 11, and 12 already ready to go. So it's something I'm definitely excited about. And I really enjoy doing with you guys. I love hosting. I really do. I absolutely love hosting it. So it's so much fun, man. And I'm so excited to do it with you guys and be able to stay in touch. Obviously, we're starting the podcast now, so it's it might slow down a little bit, but that's fine. I'm cool with that.
It's been a lot of fun. It's really stressful hosting. You let me host once, and I was panicking the whole
Austin
time.
bailed on hosting.
I'm sorry. You're way better than me anyway. That's the point.
You are a great host. I need to start winning again, though, because I felt like I came out of the gate. I was winning first game, second game, third game, and I haven't won in a while. Jesse's won a few. Obviously, Corey, who's your cousin that's been on, he won his very first shot out. I was a little surprised by that. Need to get the ball rolling again.
Trending up.
Yeah, trending up.
Trending
Mr. Reigning champion over here.
Shout out Jackson Cochran for that golf question for Final Jeopardy.
Yeah, that was a little rigged, if I do say so myself. Jackson hosted the last one.
Yeah, it's been so awesome. I think it's so much fun to just have something that challenges my brain because I have like the worst memory on the planet. And then like sometimes a question will pop up and I'll be like, oh, I know that one. But it's always Jordan at the top of the screen, getting the first shot at every single answer. But
I'm quick. I'm quick with that release. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Jesse for doing all those hostings. I know it's not easy coming up with all those different creative questions and stuff like that, and keep us all together. It's been awesome, and I love doing it all the time. So Monday is probably gonna be my day off now since football season's over. Montana State's press conference is now gone, so I don't think anything happens on Monday night. So
All right, cool.
I love it. It's fun.
Guys, it's been a blast. Thank you guys for coming on the show. I appreciate both of you so much. Shout out Jackson Cochran. Thank him for coming on. Taylor for being our guest this week. Guys, will you be back next week to hang out with us?
I'll be there.
Sounds good.
Lock me in.
All right. Sounds good. Set it and forget it. All right. So, from Bozeman, Montana, Stillwater, Oklahoma, and as always from Tulare, California. I don't know. Should we do peace out? Should we do something different this year? Do the salute. Sayonara? Sayonara is a fun word.
Hey, whatever we want to do, man.
We can experience it. We can do something different every time.
All right. We don't have to keep a theme.
All
right. So, sayonara, because that's a fun word. See you guys next week.
See you guys.